Hare Krishna, Smasari Prabhu. We can start now.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Sri Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, and all glories to you all for being here. We're very grateful having your association as always. Today, our speaker is His Grace Salika Prabhu, who needs no introduction. It's one of us. And Prabhuji, if you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and you take it over.
Yeah, I think we can go ahead, Prabhu.
All right, so let's see here. Hold on. You're speaking on 24, right?
Is it 24, 25?
Oh, 24 was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, 25.
We didn't have the class to speak in 25.
But I would want you to touch on 24 since we did just read it and then we'll move on to 25.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Narayachaivam Narottama. Devi Sarasvati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Nasta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttamasloki Bhakti Bhavati Naisike. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, sorry. We read text number 24 and 25. So text number 25, 24th. Visheshastasya dehoyam stavitascha. I think I should go here. Visheshastasya dehoyam stavitascha stavivyasam yatredam vyajyate viswam bhutam bhavyam bhavakshasat. I'll read the translation only for this text. This gigantic manifestation of the phenomenal material world as a whole is the personal body of the absolute truth, wherein the universal resultant past tense, present, and future of material time is experienced. So the purport, anything either material or spiritual is but an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 13:13, the omnipotent Lord has his transcendental heights, earths, and other bodily parts distributed everywhere. He can see, hear, touch, or manifest himself anywhere and anywhere, everywhere. For he is present everywhere as the super soul of all infinitesimal soul. Although he has his particular abode in the absolute world, the relative world is also his phenomenal representation because it is nothing but an expansion of his transcendental energy. Although he is in his abode, his energy is distributed everywhere, just as the sun is localized as well as expanded everywhere. Since the rays of the sun, being non-different from the sun, are accepted as expansions of the sun disk. In the Vishnu Purana 122:52, it is said that as fire expands its rays and heat from one place, similarly, the Supreme Spirit, the personality of God, expands himself by his manifold energy everywhere and anywhere. The phenomenal manifestation of the gigantic universe is only a part of his Virat body. Less intelligent men cannot conceive of the transcendental all-spiritual form of the Lord, but they are astounded by his different energies, just as the aborigines are struck with wonder by the manifestation of lightning, a gigantic mountain, or a hugely expanded banyan tree. The aborigines praise the strength of the tiger and the elephant because of their superior energy and strength. The Asuras cannot recognize the existence of the Lord, although there are vivid descriptions of the Lord in the revealed scriptures. Although the Lord incarnates and exhibits his uncommon strength and energy, and although he is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by learned scholars and saints like Dasa, Narada, Salika, and Devala, in the past, and by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, as also by the acharyas like Sokracharya, Ramanujaya Acharya, Madhvacharya, and Lord Srishita Mahaprabhu in the modern age. The Asuras do not accept any evidential proof from the revealed scriptures, nor do they recognize the authority of the great acharyas. They want to see with their own eyes at once. Therefore, they can see the gigantic body of the Lord as Virat, which will answer their challenge. And since they are accustomed to paying homage to superior material strength like that of the tiger, elephant, and lightning, they can offer respect to the Virat Rupa. But Krishna, by the request of Arjuna, exhibited his Virat Rupa. For the Asuras, a pure devotee of the Lord, being unaccustomed to looking into such a mundane, gigantic form of the Lord, requires special vision for the purpose. The Lord therefore favored Arjuna with special vision for looking into his Virat Rupa, which is described in the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This Virat Rupa of the Lord was especially manifested, not for the benefit of Arjuna, but for the unintelligent class of men who accept anyone and everyone as an incarnation of the Lord, and so misled the general mass of people. For them, the incarnation is that one should ask the sheep incarnation to exhibit his Virat Rupa, and thus he established as an incarnation. The Virat Rupa manifestation of the Lord is simultaneously a challenge to the aesthetic and a favor for the Asuras, who can think of the Lord as Virat and thus gradually cleanse the dirty things from their hearts in order to become qualified to actually see the transcendental form of the Lord in the near future. This is a favor of the all-merciful Lord to the atheist and the gross materialist. So text number 25 says that, Andako se sarire asmin sapta varana samyute vairaja purusho yosau bhagavan dharam nasrayaha. Andako se sarire asmin sapta varana samyute vairaja purusho yosau bhagavan dharam nasraya. Word for word translation, Andako se, within the universal chair, sarire, in the body of, asmi, this, saptaha, sevenfold, varanaha, coverings, samyute, having so done, vairaja, the gigantic universe, the gigantic universal, purusha, form of the Lord, ya, that, asahau, he, Bhagavan, the personality of God, Dharana, conception, Asraya, object of. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The gigantic universal form of the personality of God within the body of the universe, soul shell, which is covered by sevenfold material element, is a subject for the Virat conception, purported by Srila Prabhupada. Simultaneously, the Lord has multifarious other forms, and all of them are identical with the original fountainhead form of the Lord, Sri Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it has been proven that the original transcendental and eternal form of the Lord is Sri Krishna. And the absolute personality of God, but by his inconceivable internal potency, Atma Maya, he can expand himself by multifarious forms and incarnations simultaneously, without being diminished in his full potency. He is complete, and although innumerable complete forms emanate from him, he is still complete without any loss. That is a spiritual or internal potency. In the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, manifested his Virat Rupa just to convince the less intelligent class of men who cannot conceive of the Lord as appearing just like a human being, that he factually has the potency of his claim to be the supreme absolute person without any rival or superior. Materialistic men can think, although very imperfectly, of the huge universal space, comprehending an innumerable number of planets as big as the sun. They can see only the circular sky overhead, without any information that this universe, as well as many other hundreds of thousands of universes, are each covered by sevenfold material coverings of water, fire, air, sky, ego, non-nomen, and material nature. Just like a huge football, pumped and covered, floating on the water of the casual ocean, wherein the Lord is lying as Mahavishnu. All the universes in seed are emanating from the breathing of the Mahavishnu, who is but part of a partial expansion of the Lord. And all the universes presided over the Brahmas vanish. When the Mahavishnu withdraws his great breath, in this way, the material world are being created and vanished by the supreme will of the Lord. The poor, foolish materialist can just imagine how ignorantly he puts forward an insignificant creation to become his rival incarnation, sleeping simply on the allegations of a dying man. The Virat Rupa was particularly exhibited by the Lord just to give lessons to such foolish men, so that one can accept a person as the incarnation of God only if such a person is able to exhibit such a Virat Rupa as Lord Krishna did. The materialistic person may concentrate his mind upon the Virat or gigantic form of the Lord in his own interest, as recommended by Srikadev Goswami. But he must be on his guard not to be misled by pretenders who claim to be the identical person as Lord Krishna, but are not able to act like him or exhibit the Virat Rupa, comprehending the whole of the universe. Umagyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Shalakaya Shaksho Umilitam Jenatasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swam Pada Antikam Vandyam Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sagana Ragunatam Samsa Ajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijanam Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Saganam Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagata Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakam Pranamahostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shitedevi Pranamami Hari Vancha Karpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sundubhya Sivaschaha Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Mokankaro Tivachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yat Kripa Taham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadada Srinivasadi Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Andakose sarire asmin, Prapta Varana Samyute, Vairaja Purusho Yasau, Bhagavan Asraya. The gigantic universal form of the personality of God within the body of the universal shell, which is covered by sevenfold material elements, is the subject for the Virat conception. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for being here today for today's Srimad Bhagavatam for the 24th day of the month of March, the year 2022. Is it? 2023. I'm in ecstasy because I'm having opportunity to associate with the Lord in this form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm getting, even though I'm here with you, I'm trying to be somewhere else. So don't mind me, my slip of tongue is going back to 2022. I'm completely out of the calculation of the material calendar. So you're welcome to this Srimad Bhagavatam discourse, and I request all of you to bless me so that I may be able to do a proper seva in the course of discussing this verse. When I had to read this verse some few hours ago, for whatever reason, I don't know, I just started having some different feelings in my body since that moment, since morning. That kind of ecstasy that is radiating in my mind, I don't know where it's coming from. But I'm just somehow joyful and blissful because the verses we're treating this evening, my time, both verse 24 to 25 is talking about the same subject matter. The Virat Rupa, the gigantic universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And looking at how to approach this verse, I'm just wondering, maybe we should start by asking questions because the way my heart is feeling this evening, I'm just trying to see how I can share the emotions that is going on in my heart. So if you allow anyone who wants to answer, maybe most of us will answer. Does anyone on this platform know who is Krishna? I want an answer. Does anyone here know who is Krishna? You can unmute and answer. Who knows Krishna here?
So Hare Krishna, there is a question thrown to all of us. If anyone has answered to the question, please. Just unmute.
After the class, you ask me a question, but now I want to ask a question. Does anyone know Krishna here?
I do not know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I do not know that. But I have heard from people and scriptures that I trust that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I accept it that way.
Thank you very much, Sadif. I really do want you to answer first, but I want others to answer, but it's like everyone here doesn't want to answer. Thank you, Genevieve. So any other person here who knows, there's anyone here other person knows Krishna? So when I was reading this verse, what was coming to my head is that how foolish it is for someone to talk about Krishna. Because even Ananta Shesha, with his 1,000 hooves cannot describe the personality of Krishna. Because the more you try to know him, the more it goes beyond. And it is interesting, Prabhupada repeated the same sentences in these two purports. One sentence is repeated 3 times. What is that sentence? Prabhupada said, this gigantic form of the Lord is meant to convince those who are not less intelligent. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the host of the demigods, no one knows who Krishna is. Even Lord Balaram, the original manifestation of Lord Krishna, we all know in the past times of Lord Krishna, when Krishna appeared on this earth planet, I'm going to be sharing this story to take us into the bar of this verse that we're reading today. Lord Brahma is the supreme being on this universe. And Lord Brahma, when Lord Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, Lord Brahma, he was looking at Krishna, one of his pastimes. Lord Krishna was in the groves of Vrindavan with his cowherd boyfriends and the cows. And Lord Brahma was looking at this small boy, so huggable, so lovable, so attractive, so handsome. And he was looking at him and said, can this be my Lord? He was bewildered. He was wondering, can this small boy that I'm seeing, can he actually be? Lord Brahma with the demigods went to the bank of the river, the Gabra Ocean, to plead for the Lord to come in. But when Lord Krishna promised he was going to come, when Lord Krishna eventually come, when he started his pastime in the groves of Vrindavan, Lord Brahma was looking. He said, could this be the same Lord of mine? He was in doubt. He was confused. And he said, Lord Brahma said, okay, whatever we don't know, we want to test. And that is the greatest danger for the conditioned soul. Because you cannot test what you don't know. Sometimes we say that to want to accept a spiritual master, one has to test the spiritual master. Who are you to test the spiritual master when you don't know what is a spiritual master? It is impossible. So Lord Brahma was falling into the same foolish addy. Lord Brahma wanted to test whether Krishna, that was number first offense of Lord Brahma. He wanted to say, is this my Lord? And what did he do? He removed all of the calves and calves of Lord Krishna's and his cowherd boyfriend. He stole them. Number 2 offense. He stole the cows. When he stole them, he went and hid them because Lord Brahma, he has so much of powerful mystic potency. And he stole all of these cows. Number 2nd offense, he went and hid them by his mystic potency, opulence. He went to go and hide them. And when the cowherd boyfriend of Krishna, when they looked around, they said, Krishna, we can't find our cows and cows. Our mothers will chastise us. We have, in the mood of our playing, we have lost our cows. Let us go and check them. So Krishna was smiling. He allowed them to go. And when they go finding the cows, the Brahman, he committed the 3rd offenses. He stole the cowherd boys also. He went and hid them in the same place. And when he went to hide them, he was looking. I want to go back and see how that small boy is feeling. And when he came back, he saw Lord Krishna alone. And Krishna was looking, where are my boys and cows? Krishna is the greatest of actors. He was looking back and forth. Where are my calves and cows? With a morsel of food in his hand. But he knew what was going on. But in his position of the Supreme Personality, he was acting. And he was looking around. He couldn't find it. He wanted to bewilder Lord Brahma more. So when Lord Brahma saw him in this situation, Lord Brahma concluded, this cannot be my Lord. He said, no. So to prove that I'm right, let me go for a second of my time. According to the length of Lord Brahma's life, a second is equivalent of our 1 year. So Lord Brahma, he said, for a moment, let me turn my face and come back and see whether he will be able to find his cow boys and cows. And Lord Krishna, when he realized what was going on, he manifested all the cows exactly with the same mood, with the same color, with the same air, with the same look, with the same eyes of the cows. Not only that, the cowherd boys, he manifested the hundreds of cowherd boys that goes to him to the Vrindavan forest. He manifested another duplicate of all of them. Exactly the same features, the same voice, the same look, the same attributes. You cannot differentiate. This is the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He exhibited this. And when he manifested this, he went back. And when the mothers and the fathers of the cowherd boys, when they saw the boys, they had in their previous life prayed to the Lord to have the Lord as their sons. And Lord Krishna was fulfilling that promise. But when they are seeing their son, they could not differentiate that it's not their children. The only thing they can realize is that their affection for their children increased 1,000-fold when they start seeing them. And this goes on for a whole 1 year of human earthly calculation. And sometimes around a 1 year period, so Lord Balaram himself had to come to Lord Krishna and say, Krishna, my dear brother, what is going on here? I can see that the mothers, the whole of the Vrindavan Vrajabasis, their affections for their children, their love for their children is increasingly different from what it used to be. What is going on? Tell me. Indicating that even Lord Balaram was put into that Atma Maya, like Prabhupada mentioned in the verse, in the purport of Lord Krishna. That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead we're talking about. Even Lord Balaram, for a moment, was put into the influence of the Atma Maya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He couldn't recognize. And afterwards, when it was 1 second of Lord Brahma came back. When he came back, he became confused. He who wanted to confuse the small boy became confused himself. And he was looking. He said, am I dreaming? I have not released these boys and the calves. So he quickly ran back to where he hid the boys and the calves. And he found them there. He ran back. He came again. He saw the same set of boys. And he who wants to bewilder the Supreme Personality of God become himself bewildered. That is the Supreme Personality of God that we're talking about here. So therefore, even the yogis, the demigods, no one can understand him fully, who he is, the Supreme Personality of God. So Lord Brahma, in his prayers in the Brahma Samhita, so he said, Vedeshu Dulabam Adulabam Atma Bhaktau Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. By all the revealed scriptures, Vedic scriptures, Vedeshu Dulabam Adulabam, although it's very easily attractive, it's easily achievable, but it's also inconceivably impossible to achieve. So that same Supreme Personality of Godhead, some mundane scientists and impersonalists want to equate themselves with him, that Supreme Gigantic Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada will often quote He said, when somebody is saying that I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in India, in the Western world, we are so unfortunate where we don't have so many gods. Although we have so many conceptions of God. But in India, it is not very difficult to see God on the streets. And one of my friends, who is a journalist, he went on a work visit to India. And when he came back, he said, I have so many things to share on my experience of going to India. He said, I've traveled so many places in the world by virtue of my opportunity of the work I do. He said, but it's only in India you can buy God, $50 rupee God. He said, because when I got to the city of Mathura, when I was going, and somebody was calling me from market, come and buy God. He cannot understand that God, who is manifesting, who is the Supreme Personality, can manifest himself in the form of a deity. He cannot comprehend that. It is not possible for him. So in the verse we're reading today, so Prabhupada started by saying, simultaneously the Lord, he has multifarious forms, and all of them are identical with the original fountainhead. The Supreme Lord is so unlimited that you cannot put an end to it. The word unlimited becomes even unlimitedly incapable of explaining the unlimited personality of God. When one tries to understand him, immediately he increases. He continuously manifests himself. So how can one understand that same personality of God, the Supreme, who is beyond the conception of even the demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva? They all become bewildered when it comes to the personality of God. To Arjuna, in the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, when the Lord was exhibited, when the Lord was Arjuna, for the purpose of the whole world, Prabhupada mentioned in the purpose, Arjuna was not confused. Arjuna does not need the Virat Rupa of the Lord to know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But for the less intelligent persons, and that is significant. And the Lord said, although the Lord is standing in front of all of the soldiers in the battlefield of Krishna, they could not understand this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Western aphorism, show me God and I can believe him. And with which eyes? Even Arjuna, he has to beg the Lord, please give me that eye, which I can see you in that form. So in the beginning, I asked that question. Who among us here knows Krishna? We can know him. It's beyond the conception. And Lord Brahma, like Lord Brahma said, that person who is inconceivably impossible to know, it becomes knowable. Those who have become devotees of the Lord. And that is the beauty. So Lord Krishna, he said in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Mam, Happy Jananti, the one just trust me tatuta, tatuta to gyatam, shateta danantaram. Everyone in the material world is confused about what is who. We are all confused about the reality. We are all like a lost children. When we were young, some of us have experienced what it means to be lost. Let me ask another question here. Is anyone here have had an experience of being lost at some point in our lives? Who has got that experience? Has anybody here got an experience of being lost? You couldn't find yourself. As a child, we've got this experience. And when you are lost, you can imagine what is situation. That is the condition of the living entities in this material world. We're completely lost. We're lost. So Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, verse number 58, Machita sarvadugani. If you listen to me, if you listen, if you hear me, you will overcome all, I didn't say some, all the obstacles that may be before you, all delusion, all bewilderment, all doubt, you will be overcome them. But if you do not, and you think you are capable, you have the ability, you will be lost. So trying to know the Lord by the process of our intelligence, knowledge, ability is sacrosanct to being lost. And the experience of one who is lost cannot be explained by others to others, unless somebody who has been in that situation. That is the situation that everyone in the material world is. In recent times, I was going through some situation in the last 3 years, since 2020. And I kept on having some kind of a dream. And maybe probably that is what gave the mood in which I was this morning. When I woke up this morning, since yesterday I've been down health-wise. I have been feeling somehow uncomfortable, but I was struggling. So this morning when I woke up, I was thinking, when I woke up this morning, I was in anxiety when I was going to go to bed. I for the first time in maybe years now, I slept for 7 hours. Of course, I had an intermittent wake up, but for 7 hours, I could calculate. And I can't remember how many years back I had that kind of a number of hours sleep. But one thing that is unique about that sleep was that when I was going to wake up, I wake up, and that same thing, that same experience that's been coming to me in the dreams from the last 3 years, it came to reality today. And I saw that after it's repeatedly coming to me, and when I found myself coming out, somebody told me, he said, "This is where you're going." And I looked and said, "No, I was actually playing along with you. This is actually where you were going." And when I followed that path, I came out into the open. And I was wondering, so why didn't I see this place all of this time? I looked back to look at that person who was showing me the place. I couldn't find that person any longer. And I came into external consciousness. But I could remember everything clearly. And the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, could this be what has been going through the last couple of years? Then there was a particular word that was used, and I can't forget it. I don't want to share it for confidentiality. And when I went to check it, it was a Sanskrit word. And when I went checking the meaning, everything became clear to me, because I could see, okay, this is what Krishna was talking about. Because in that person talking to me, he said, "This is where you are going." And I was wondering, I've never in my whole of over 6 decades in my life, I've never had that name of any place in this material world. And he was telling me, this is where you were going. So I came into external consciousness, questioning myself, going to Tejas. What is this place? What have I had to do with this place? And when I start finding out, and I realized, oh, Krishna, this is what you're saying. And then I stood up, and I'm about to go and chant. Then something told me, are we going to give Bhagavatam class today? We'll go and look at the verse. And when I opened the verse, and I started reflecting, in vis-a-vis what is going on in my life. This Krishna consciousness movement is not a play thing, it's not a child thing. It's not an easily attainable thing, but it's the most easiest thing to attain. Only simply, we have to take the 2 steps towards God realization. The subtitle of the fast we are taking, he said the 4 steps in God realization. And what is that 1st step in God realization? The whole of the summary of what we're reading about here, and which we continue to hear from Sukadev Goswami in the next couple of verses, is centering around one thing. What is that thing? that is taking us to. Amanitwam, humility. That until and when we develop humility, our life is useless. When we realize that we are incapable, we have no ability, we cannot do it. Only by the mercy of the Lord can we understand even ourselves, not to talk of understanding the Supreme Personality of God. When we come to that platform, that consciousness of amanitwam, humility, only then our life start having meaning. Life is useless, meaningless. It has no that's no repute until when we come to that point in our lives when we become humble. And what is that humility? Krishna, I'm a soul, so then I don't know. Please take me. We have to come to that point only. And when we come to that point, what will happen? Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, verse number 19. That is the manifestation of one who knows Krishna. Unlike this foolish scientist that is being described here in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. The less intelligent, Prabhupada uses that two statements concurrently in the two purports of the last two verses. For those who are less intelligent, the impersonalists, those who are foolish. And in contrast to those, are those who are intelligent. The intelligent person who becomes humble. He realizes that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. I have no ability for anything. And what does he do? He surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of God. Krishna, take me. Until and when we come to that point, devotional service is not attainable. Until when we stop struggling, trying to do it, we will not be able to engage in devotional service. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the host of demigods, they cannot. So how can you and I? There's an analogy that is given here, that this shell, this universal shell, covered by the sevenfold, and it is mentioned in another place in the Bhagavatam, later part of the Bhagavatam. We're talking about earth, water, fire, mind, intelligence, and all of these seven. And it is described that each of them is 10,000 thickness of the other. How can we break out of this? It's impossible. Excuse me. It is impossible. So that's why Lord Brahma, he concluded. The glorious person in this world is a knowledgeable person. But even said, with all of this knowledge, Lord Brahma said, you cannot understand it. You cannot comprehend him. So those who claim to be God, those who claim to be a devotee, those who claim to be anything in this material world already lost it because they're actually on the lost person. He who is able to completely surrender. Krishna, yeah, I'm nothing. Just take me. Only such a person can be able to release and enter into the realm of bhakti. That is the whole essence of what Sukadev Goswami is teaching Maharaj Parikshit here. The whole of these lessons is to bring to the one conclusion. Krishna is true Bhagavan Swayam. The Supreme Personality of God is Krishna, and it's inconceivable. And that's what he told Arjuna. Mami vaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. It is impossible to surmount only when one surrenders unto me in bhakti, in devotion. Nothing is attainable, nothing is achievable. So we have to come to that point. And that is the whole conclusion of the whole revealed scriptures for those who are intelligent. So as we are hearing in the next couple of verses that Sukadev Goswami will be explaining, he will be explaining these different features of this Virat Rupa. And this one tiny universe that we find ourselves in, consisting of 14 planetary systems. Shukadu Goswami is going to be telling us how they represent each different features. But how can one understand all of it? I was reading recently, and we know that the upper planetary systems are places where there is some level of enjoyment. And I was reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the sun that we see here only reflects its rays up to this planet, Bhuvloka. And beyond, all the Paratala, all the Tala planets down, they don't have the reflection of the sun. Therefore, they are called Elis. So, and that reminds one of the story of the South African miners that was told by Chap. He was trying to give them an impression, and he said, after giving so many examples, he said, Elis is such a place where there is no newspaper. So Elis planet is that place. Apart from the abode of Bali, which is the next planet below this our planet, where people do not have to agree in the experience of Elis life. So many nice, interesting descriptions and the relationship of the Virat Rupa and the experience in the material world is going to be explained in the next couple of verses. But here it is suffice to understand that one thing, that no one can compare with. Krishna is incomprehensible to the intelligence of the most intelligent person. If Lord Brahma cannot understand, who are we to understand? So the summary of all of the discussion is that we should understand that we have no ability to know anything. And that was the mood Arjuna got to. Then he had Bhagavad Gita. So we don't even know what to do next. He asked questions. That is the point Maharaj Parikshit got to. It is the duty for one who is about that mood when we become, you take the humble position and we ask questions in the right way, to the right person, at the right time. Only then our life start having meaning. That's the whole essence of bhakti. Hare Krishna. I would like to stop here so that we can interact on this verse. It's a beautiful verse. I just don't know how much I could express what I'm feeling inside of me reading this verse. Because the more I try to think about it, the more you wonder how glorious the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, is, and how fortunate we are, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, to have this wonderful opportunity, that which is very incomprehensible, which is very difficult even for Lord Brahma to understand. Prabhupada made it so simple, and he handed it over to us in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. How fortunate are we? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Comments,
Salika Prabhu. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So anyone with a question or comment, please, you may indicate by using the hand emoji, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or to speak. Thank you so much. You see, even when we read, when we're reading from something that has been printed, because we are human beings, we may make a mistake. So when His Grace Salika Prabhu was talking about the 7 elements Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, he rightly said each element is 10 times greater than the previous one. But instead of saying 10 times, he said 10,000. So pay attention to that. It's not 10,000. That is not what he meant, but it's a slip of tongue. It's 10 times thicker. So thank you for bringing that up, because it's very, very relevant that it's so thick that it's impossible to break through. And when you were saying, when we're speaking that way, I was reminded of how Krishna took Arjuna through the earth crust and had to use his Sudarshan chakra to cut through the earth crust to go to hell to bring the sons of the Brahmin who had lost his sons. And Arjuna had promised that if he did not bring the lost son back, he's going to enter into fire. So it's impossible except by the mercy of the Lord. Thank you for sharing that. So anyone with something to share, please, you may indicate that. Hare Krishna. Shri Govinda Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you very
Krishna.
much, Prabhuji. My respectful obeisances to you all. All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, Salika Prabhu, thank you for this wonderful class and your wonderful realization. I wish you could tell us exactly what you saw. But I know there's spiritual dreams and stuff like that. Sometimes we don't reveal it. So I know you cannot reveal. But all glories to you. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, can you kindly explain what you meant by, the first question you asked about who knows Krishna? Can you explain that further? Who knows Krishna? See, we cannot serve somebody that you don't know.
Yeah.
You cannot talk about somebody or describe somebody that you've never seen. You cannot love somebody that you've never seen. And so this has been a claim for many spiritualists or the religious practitioners about the conception of God. Everybody is saying is worshiping God. But if you ask them how that God looked like, they cannot tell you. Some say he is a big old man with a big beard who is about to die. If you can grow to become old, then you can as well die. But God is eternal. God never grows old and God never dies. But that is their conception. And so if you say you are worshiping God and you don't know that God, and then anybody come to you, appear before you and tell you, I'm that God you are worshiping, how would you know that truly this is the God that you are worshiping? So one must know, especially when it comes in terms of worshiping God, one must know which kind of God he's worshiping. There are so many gods, but which of them? And so I would like you to throw more light in this very aspect of knowing God and understanding God. You see, it's easy to know somebody, like I know you, but I don't understand you, and I can never understand you. Even as a mere human being, it's hardly for one to understand someone, even your own child. You cannot understand him because it's an individual person with unlimited desires and unlimited visions. So you cannot understand him. What to speak of God? So I would like you to define the two, knowing and understanding. Which one are we talking about? Knowing, we don't know God, or we don't understand God.
Thank you very much for bringing out this point. Actually, this is the crux of the whole of the discussion today. And I want that to be sync That was why I started with that question, because even as devotees, sometimes we tend to think that we already know Krishna. But actually we don't. Because the symptoms of one who knows Krishna is that it has nothing to do with this material world any longer. This material body no longer can contain him. When one comes to the platform of knowing Krishna, he falls in ecstasy. And that is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to exhibit. The moment one comes to know Krishna, the ecstasy is so high that this material body no longer can contain you. When Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami, when he was about leaving the planet, when he was already disconnecting from this earth planet, he was saying that expression, it can't be better than this. It can't be better than this. We're hearing the statement, but we can't understand what he is talking about.
That
when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he will run into the ocean, his body limbs will elongate beyond conception of human reality. That is knowing God. In the beginning of devotional service, what we are doing now is that we are trying to purify ourselves. The whole of the process of bhakti is to bring us to the point where we become purified. It's only when one becomes purified and comes to that transcendental platform of purity, only then he can understand. That is why Krishna says, Am sarvasya prabhava mata sarva prabhatate. Iti matua bhajanti mam buddhabhava samamvita. It is the same thing where Krishna said, Bahunam jamanam ante ganava mam papadi ante vasudeva savaniti kama atma sudalaba. The same thing he said in 1519, that when one knows Krishna is beyond doubt, only thing he does is what? Surrender unto Krishna. So in our present stage, we don't know Krishna yet. We are trying to become purified by chanting, by worshiping the deities, by associating with devotees. We are only getting purified. And that is why Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Yesham tu anta gata papam, gena man pum ya karmana. Diba, what is that second one? Yesham tu anta gata papam, gena man. Vasudev, no, that's not it. That third stanza. There is one statement before that. But sorry, bring that verse up. 728. Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is there's one word I need there. There's third line. So when one, after all this endeavor, when he becomes purified, only then one can understand who Krishna is. And at that moment, when one knows Krishna, he only does only one thing, bhakti. He's no longer interested in anything that has to do with this material world. Nothing at all relates to him. Yeah. Te dwandwa vinimukta. Yeah, thank you very much. Te dwandwa vinimukta. Te dwandwa mune. Yes, thank you. That's what the start. Te dwandwa. When one becomes purified, when one becomes purified, when we look at the word for word, that word, dwandwa, dualities, or a delusion, moha, when one whose previous activities, what I want to use is dwandwa moha, dualities and delusion, when they are removed, when these are removed, then one at that point, what? He engages with determination in the loving service of his personality. In our present stage, what we're saying is that, yes, but like Sadi Prabhu nicely put it, we have heard about Krishna. We have read about Krishna. And because Krishna is the absolute truth, we are able to perceive by dint of our original nature that yes, this is truth. Because each and everyone knows what is truth. He may not be able to ascertain or express that truth in the initial stage, But each and every soul knows the truth because it's part of that truth. So we are able to accept that yes, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. But when we come to that same knowledge, that at that moment, this material world no longer has a meaning. We can no longer exist in this body. This body is become so tiny, so small that it cannot contain the soul any longer. One who knows Krishna no longer can exist in this material body. And that is why the pure devotee, they have to come down to the Madhyama Bhakta level. They have to come down so that they can relate. One who is on the platform of knowledge of Krishna, this body, it cannot operate on this material body. This material body becomes incapable of being able to house that soul. That is what we're talking about. So knowledge of Krishna we're talking at this level is that when one knows Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead. But on the part of devotional service, when we take to the process of devotion, we take a vow, we chant the 16 rounds, we worship the deities, we render services. These are all stages of purification. And when we become completely purified, then we understand Krishna. And what do we understand? We understand what Lord Brahma understood, that Krishna is beyond our conception. So our trying to understand him is futile. So the only thing is surrender to him. And when we surrender to him, he himself, by himself, will reveal himself. And when he reveals himself, we're trying to understand that revelation, he manifests himself the more. And that is why the pure devotees of the Lord, they are always in ecstasy because they cannot exhaust the relishment of the nectar of knowing Krishna. They want to dive in more and more. That is the knowledge of the knowing that we're talking about. So when a material religionist or a neophyte on the path of spirituality says, I know Krishna. Yes, literally, we may know that Krishna is the supreme personality of God because we have been told. And because we are spirit, so part and parcel of here, we can relate to this knowledge by faith. But when we come to know Krishna, we no longer exist in this level where we are existing. The body becomes incapable of containing our ecstasy. Hare Krishna. I hope that answers the question for you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time. Yeah, but I would like you to still go deeper.
Okay.
Because you know, yes, you know, when if we don't know Krishna, how do we present this picture and the deities to people who come to our temple and ask, who is this person? We tell them this is Krishna, and then we try to explain to them. We are already convinced that this is Krishna, and you rightly said that even the pure devotees, they try to go deeper to relish the ecstasies of the divinity of the Lord. So this is our level. Our level here is that we see this body of Krishna, this form of Krishna, and we are enjoying this form of Krishna. So how can you say we don't know him? And talking of the pure devotees who have attained the perfection, then you can as well say that they also don't know Krishna, because Krishna himself says that he does not even understand himself. So who knows? So who knows Krishna? Who knows Krishna? Why Krishna himself says he doesn't even understand himself?
That is exactly the point we're making. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared because Krishna himself, he could not understand the love of himself. Radharani is the topmost lover of Krishna because is that mood of Lord Krishna who exhibits the highest love of Krishna. But even Krishna himself cannot understand that. So for him to try to understand, I'm not saying understand, he's trying to understand. He had to take the form of Radharani. And that is why I explained that.
Prabhu, I'm not cutting you. You see, here, Krishna wants to understand himself. Yes. He wants to understand the love of Srimati Radharani. Not to know Srimati Radharani, but to understand the love. That was my question. What is the difference between knowing and understanding? Knowing somebody is different from understanding that person. That's what I would like you to define the two.
Thank you. The truth is that you cannot understand somebody we don't know. So both of them are simultaneously connected. When you know someone, you can understand him. When you understand somebody, you know him. You cannot understand somebody, excuse me, somebody you don't know, you cannot understand him. And someone whom you know, you automatically understand him. So to understand somebody, you have to know the person. And so it's interconnected. You can't separate the understanding and knowledge. You can't separate it because understanding is the manifestation of knowledge. When I say I understand Sahadev, it means that I know Sahadev for me to have understood him. But I cannot say I understand Sahadev when I don't know him. So it is impossible. So in this level of expression that we are sharing, so we're talking about Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead. And that is why Prabhupada in the purport, towards the end, he said the Virat Rupa was particularly exhibited by the Lord just to give some lessons to such foolish men, because they are thinking, their perception is that the Krishna can be this, Krishna can be that. They are giving their experience. They are trying to explain. They are trying to explain what they do not understand. And how can they understand what they do not know? So that is what Krishna is saying. For these people who, for this level of people who have this level of consciousness, who see in this particular level. So Krishna is manifesting them because they want to see. And there's a nice story I heard from one of our senior devotees, or one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. They were in Vrindavan and they were sitting, we were taking prasadam. And this Babaji impersonalist was sitting beside him and was saying, "No, I'm Krishna. You only have not realized me." So, but because of the training of Srila Prabhupada, so he asked him, he said, so you are Krishna. Okay. If you are Krishna, do you remember that Krishna, when he appeared here on earth, according to what we read, with his little finger, he lifted Govardhan Hill for 7 days. He was not tired. He was not hungry. He was not sweating. He said, can you lift that Govardhan Hill? He said, well, not now, but maybe in the future I can do that. He said, okay, leave that. That is too big. We are sitting in Ramana Reti Temple, Vrindavan, Prabhupada Temple. He said this building is less than 1/10 of Govardhan Hill. Can you lift this building with your 2 hands, with all your strength? I'm not talking with the little finger. He said, yes, I cannot do this, but I can do in the future. So he told him, he said, this is what Prabhupada called post-dated check, which has no value. In the future, we will understand it. But they don't have anything. So therefore, when we talk about understanding and knowledge on this level of discussion, it cannot be separated from each other. One cannot understand what he does not know. One cannot know what he does. When one knows, he automatically understands. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Kavi Kanapur, Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Yes, Prabhu, I was just why I want my question was I don't have any question. I just a little contribution that the question that His Grace Govinda Prabhu was asking is and the answer Prabhu is giving, they are all perfectly correct, so that there will not be prolonged argument of different understanding, because Krishna consciousness is very vast and it's Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. So that is on this grant. There's no need to prolong argument. I just tried to come up, but since Prabhu has already agreed, so it's okay. That's why I wanted to come in, but that's because our philosophy is so vast, and since Prabhu has cemented it with Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, so whatever angle one is coming out, we should just accept it like that and let's move on like that. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you
very much,
for your
Kasman Kavikan Prabhu. But
contribution.
if you have some realization you want to share also on the subject matter, we all are learning.
Yeah. My realization is that sometimes we prolong arguments coming from different angles, which is not very. That is my own realization. Sometimes when I give lecture and there's prolonged arguments, someone will come from an angle. His angle is right. I'm speaking from another angle. My angle is right. At the end of the day, I just ask, what is the use of then coming to give lecture? Because we're all speaking the truth, and the truth, everything is in the scripture. So once we know this, there's no need to argue and prolong talk sometime. We should just, okay, I understand what he's saying. Okay, that is his own angle. Okay, let's end the class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Hare
very much
Krishna.
for that contribution. It buttresses the fact that Krishna is unlimited and he has manifested unlimited expansions of himself. And these expansions are so unlimited that even if we try to discuss it from now to the end of the coming of Lord Brahma, still we will not be able to see the end of it, because the more we are trying to know, the more Krishna's knowledge is expanding. And that is the whole essence of this class, that Krishna is so unlimited that his unlimitedness is unlimited for us to be able to comprehend. So therefore, we should take the humble position, like you rightly said. We just accept that this is Krishna manifesting in this particular way. Thank you so much for that realization.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your contribution.
Hare Krishna.
Hold on for a minute, because somebody is ahead of you.
All right.
Prabhu Govinda's question actually is a very philosophical question, and
Exactly.
we may try to address it in various ways, but it's going to be a lifelong discussion. So we go to Shrimad Prabhu. Please unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Right.
Obeisances,
Hare Krishna.
all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. In as much as I agree with Kavikanapura Prabhu that we avoid argument, but the scriptures actually say we should not consider these things as argument.
No.
When there is a philosophical debate, you should give a conclusive answer. There must be a siddhanta that everyone should agree on. Otherwise, we're just doing some roundtable, speculations. So, Govinda Prabhu has asked a very important question. Can you love somebody you don't know? And if you say that we are in the business of trying to know God, but we cannot know Him, then what is the use of trying to, continue with that? So anyway, whatever argument or whatever line of philosophy you're presenting, it's not new. Somebody has said it before. So we have so many different school of thoughts. We have the Gyanis, we have in the Western philosophy, we have the agnostics, who also say that yes, God may be there, but we don't know. So we're neither atheists or not. So yes, it's there, but we don't know. Is that our line? Or the Gyanis who say yes, God, this is not God, that is not God, but we still don't know yet. Is that our line? No, that is not the line of Bhakti. That's not the line of Vaishnavas. God can be known, That's Prabhupada. That's what Prabhupada, boldly he told them. But God can be known. I can show you God, but do you have the level of knowing Him? Do you have that standard? If I present God to you, can you know Him? Just like a professor of university, you can present a theorem, algorithm theorem or Pythagoras theorem. If you don't know anything about science, you don't know. You cannot argue with him. So I don't want to see this as argument. I think that if we are presenting something, we should be able to support it with a conclusive argument from the scriptures. It's true that both sides can be understood, but we are not. I'm sorry, I don't want to speak categorically because Kalika Napura said something important. Yes, Achinta Beda Beda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. Yet, we are not Gyanis. It's Gyanis who say this is not God, that is not God, that is not God, and we're still waiting to see. But we're not Gyanis. We are on the part of Bhakti where we accept God as the son of Vasudeva. And we chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. I offer my obeisances to the son of Vasudeva, who is the supreme personality of Godhead. And we also, like Prabhu Salika also quoted Brahma Samhita. And there's so many verses in Brahma Samhita that also say categorically, Premanjana Shurita Bhakti Vilo Shanena Santa Sadai Varita Yesu Vilokayanti. Yama Samasundam Achinta Gunasarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamahambata. I mean, those pure devotees, whose eyes are not oined by love, they can see him, they know him. So anyway, if we want to present a line of argument, we should be ready with all the arsenals of arguments to make it conclusive. But if we leave it unclear in the mind of people and a question comes up that is not well defined, we should not say, okay, just accept it. It's, everybody knows. That's not our way of presenting Vaishnava Siddhanta. So just a comment. I'm not saying yes or no, but I say that Vaishnava line is to say that, yes, God exists. We know that for sure. We know that for sure, and we know it. Yeah, and of course, I don't want to help Salika Prabhu to present this point. But the fact remains that even though Krishna says, Name Vidu Sahaga, that the sages and the demigods do not know me as I am, okay? Yet, Mother Yasoda related to Krishna as her son. The gopis relate to Krishna as their boyfriend. And of course, I will have time to present this because I'm writing on the different levels of bhakti. So please, we can continue more realizations if somebody wants to add something to that. Just to let us know that our Siddhanta is that God exists and we can know him. Yes, we can know him. We are not saying that it's unknowable. No, if it's unknowable, then there's no point of trying to do bhakti. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shumavara.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Decided just a minute. Let me respond to that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Srimad Prabhu, for that aspect. So that you brought into the discussion. Yes, that is absolutely correct. That according to our philosophy, we are not in confusion or doubt of who Krishna is, because like Sahadev answered, we know Krishna as much as we are told. But what we are talking about here is to know Krishna in full becomes impossible for one who is still in the conditional state of life. And when we talked about discussions on the Vedic scripture or topics about Krishna, it is not argument. Like, yes, sometimes English word can be very funny because it could mean something else, but when you go into the semantics of words, it could be meaning something differently, completely different from what you intend to say. So that is why it said that, and that is the reason why we are saying that Krishna is not known fully. Because the moment you try to describe Krishna, Krishna's manifestation expand continuously. So there is no limit to his personality. So we cannot claim to have known him completely. Even those who have known him, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Personality of God himself, he exhibited the mood of a devotee. He wants to know Krishna more. And that is what he expresses in the eight prayers of the, when he started with the potency of the holy name, how we are unfortunate. Then it started by, like somebody says that the rebaptist started expressing when he talked about Trinada Pisunishena. Then when one becomes humble, one doesn't become a devotee. One comes to the what? Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim. I want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. In other words, he's gaining because he knows. But then, beyond that gaining knowledge, then the fifth verse, Ayinanda Tajuna Tanuja King Karam, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm your eternal servitor. Some of the others are falling here. Then he surrenders. Then from the point of surrender, he goes to the next verse. I have no where you start taking from surrender to bhakti now. And like that until it comes to the eighth stanza. So when we talked about Krishna, depending on the listener and the speaker, Krishna is presented in different ways. So for this, and that's why in my response to Govinda Prabhu, I was explaining that at this level of discussion, this is what it relates to. But there is no limit, there is no end to the subject matter of Krishna. Because Krishna himself, as we speak, is continuously expanding, manifesting his greatness, his opulence, is continuously manifesting them. There is no time when Krishna's manifestation stops. And that is why we're talking about not knowing. But when we talked about philosophical knowledge of Krishna, or presenting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vaishnava Siddhanta perfectly explained who Krishna is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But how much do I realize that? And that is where we're talking about realization of Krishna. If not, Lord Brahma himself even knows Krishna. But yes, still, he does not know Krishna. And that is what Kavi Prabhu was talking about. Achinta Beda Abeda Tattva. Simultaneously known or unknown.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you, Salika Prabhu. I think Kavi will come to you, but we'll go to Hare Chakra Prabhu first because Hare Chakra Prabhu, if you're ready.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All I was doing was I was going to disagree with Kavi Prabhu when he said that where whatever it is, we should just accept it and all that. Because what I'm saying is, well, we might be understanding one topic from different angles. So it's still good for us to dialogue on it. What about tomorrow if I'm out, I go out, I'm preaching, and somebody brings it from Kavi Kanapu's angle? How am I going to answer if I don't know that angle? So I should know. And then if somebody brings it from Sahadev's point of view, then I should be in knowledge so that I can answer from that angle too. And so it's very important when we come to platform like this to discuss. It's very important to hear everybody's, realizations. And of course, you can't just tell us anything and get away with it. And that's why we ask questions. You say something, you have to prove it. You don't just say it and say, hey, yeah, I said it because Salika has said it, we should just accept it and let it go. No. Then there will not be any need for us to even have classes. We want clarifications. And when we get the clarifications, then we are armed with the knowledge. So that is what I was about to say, that so far as I'm concerned, I don't see anything that we dialogue here. I don't see it as argument. I see it as a matter of preparing ourselves for the real, what do we call it, when we go to the battlefield. Because people will be coming from different point of views, and we should be armed with the knowledge to be able to, explain ourselves to them. So I greatly appreciate the way we dialogue things here. I appreciate it, but we must support our arguments. Whatever angle we are coming from should come with, not like when Lord Chaitanya met Savabhuma Bhattacharya. He didn't just say that, oh yeah, it's okay, we should, everybody's on the right path, it's okay. He listened. And after listening for a while, he pointed out all the loopholes, all the mistakes that Savabhuma Bhattacharya has said. He pointed it all out. And what happened? Savabhuma realized that, oh yeah, I thought I knew, but this small boy has pointed all my faults to me. And he surrendered, right? So I think it's important that when a topic like this comes, we should dialogue it and try to come to a proper understanding of it. And the little contribution I'll add is, like, I've been in US for all these years. I've not seen what do we call it, Joe Biden face to face. But I can still say I know Joe Biden. How do I know him? I know him from television. I know him from how people describe him, how the press are talking about him. So many things I know him. But in one aspect, I know him. But in the true aspect, I might not even know anything about him. I know him as the press say, talk about him. So similarly, devotees, we might know Krishna in some aspect, as we are hearing the acharyas describe him, but when it comes to knowing in its totality, who are we to say we can know Krishna? If we hear, like as I'm standing here, should Krishna appear in front of me now? How would I know this is Krishna? Unless he appears the way I see him on the altar, the way I see him, and even that one, will I be capable of knowing that this is the Krishna I've been seeing every day? And he can appear in any other form, but the pure devotee can perceive him. No matter which form he appears, the pure devotee can perceive him. So even though we are being told, it is being described to us, Krishna looks like this, Krishna is like this, Krishna likes this food, Krishna likes this thing. So we have the general knowledge about them. But when it comes to knowing him, we must be in a particular position, as our Siddhanta says, for us to be able to really, really know Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Hari Chakra Prabhu. I think we've almost gone past our time. But like I said, Prabhu Govinda's question is a very philosophical question. There are different types of questions. And his question about what is knowledge, what is understanding, what is the difference thereof, is a very, very deep philosophical question that will take us days and days to discuss. And we don't have much time, but the answers given and contributions given by various devotees are all very much welcomed. So on this point, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and then we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker. And that is our ritual. Please, so you may unmute.
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram,
Hare,
Hare
Rama
Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Pancha
Hare.
Kalpa Tarubhyascha
Panchaka
Kripa
Pataravyashta, Kripa Sandhya Vacha,
Panitanam Vishnu Vaishnava
Pavadevyo Vaishnavevyo, Namo Namaha.
All glories to
Matakoti
the
Vaishnava
great
Vrinda ki jai.
Ki Jai.
Jai.
Great.